Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending Thursday, December 31st, 2020. Obviously, Friday was New Year's Day, so it was a public holiday and the markets were closed. Before we go to look at the market, look at charts, etc., take a look at this disclaimer here. It will advise you that this video is being prepared for my own purposes most of all, and then I share it as a video on YouTube and anyone can take a look at it. But it's not intended to be particular advice for any particular person because I'm not a professional investment advisor. With that in mind, let's begin to take a look at the market. So we'll start as usual with a weekly chart of the S&P 500 and we'll take it from the top. There are, I admit, quite a few lines here, but I'm going to try to make it as clearly as possible as I can. Um, First of all, I usually look at the 4 exponential moving average, the 4-period exponential moving average. In this case, it would be a 4-week, of course. And that's that yellow line. It's above the 9 exponential moving average. That's above the 30 weighted moving average. I can't explain, I don't have the time to explain why we choose these moving averages, but that's what it is. Okay, that's what I use. I've been using them for a long time. This is a 50-week moving average here. All right. These white dots is called a parabolic stop and reverse. It tells us whether we have an uptrend or downtrend according to the parabolic. So right now, insofar as moving averages go, we still have an uptrend. That's been the case since the 4 crossed over the 9 here. And in fact, if you were using the MACD as an earlier signal, when MACD started trending up from below the zero line, it was, as you know, Alex Elder taught me, um, that's a good time to be buying the market. Well, a more conservative buy point would be either when the 4 crosses above the 9, or to get more confirmation and be more conservative, when MACD triggered a buy signal here by going above the zero line and turning green on the 1226.9. That's the one we use for buy signals because the person who created it, Jerry Appel, um, writes that this is what we should use for buy signals and this is what we should use for sell signals in 1939-9. So we do have an uptrend here. We still have an uptrend. We have the parabolic below the most recent bars. And there is no indication here to switch or reverse, as the parabolic is called, stop and reverse. So that's good. Insofar as these other lines are concerned, let me move it up so you could see, open it up. This is 2 standard deviations. These are Bollinger Bands above and below the mean. Okay, actually it's not. It's 2 standard deviations above a 20-day moving average. Okay, in this case a 20-week moving average. So we are not quite at 2 standard deviations yet. We still have some room on the upside. That'll take us to about 38 and 6, 3,806. Okay, and we have a target of 3812 from a previous triangle that we calculated. All right, so that gets us pretty close to the target. What else is there? So once we hit that 2 standard deviation line, we consolidated, and then on Friday, on last week, we went up again. Okay, and now it seems as though we are getting ready to move up even further. Now, when we go to MACD histogram, we could see that there is still this ominous divergence, bearish divergence of MACD on the weekly chart, which should never be ignored. Okay, never be ignored. You pay a price. I paid a big price back in 2000 for ignoring it. I won't go into the details again. You know the story, most of you. Insofar as Williams percentile, since it went positive back here in May, it's remained above the magenta line, the minus 50 line, and that that basically kept us in the trend. And basically, if you looked at that relationship between the moving averages, you can see that that's remained pretty much the same since back here in May. Okay, All right. That's enough for this. Now, insofar as the divergence of MACD is concerned, I'm keeping an eye on it, but I'm not making any decisions based on it yet. If we see this sell signal occur on the 939.9 where the histogram turns red again, that's the time to be concerned. That's the time when I will be very concerned. Okay, here's a weekly chart of the S&P again, but it's now plotted on a chart that I like. It's something that Jake Bernstein um, publishes. You know, he discusses these particular parameters here. This is a 10-week moving average of the highs and an 8-week moving average of the lows. And right now we can see it's still very bullish because as long as we have bars above, at least 2 bars above the 10-week moving average of the highs, we are in good shape. And especially since we still have the accumulation distribution line above its moving average here, its 57-week moving average. So much for Jake Bernstein. Since I have Jake's chart here, I might as well look at the daily chart with you. And same S&P 500 on the daily chart. Here's how it's used, okay? This when you have at least 2 bars and you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them here. When you have at least 2 bars, and especially if you have 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and that's a setup. That's a setup after this downtrend, okay? That's a bullish setup. But then you also need a trigger. And this here, the accumulation distribution line being above the 57-week move day, in this case, moving average, was a trigger. So the setup is here, the trigger is here. It could be the reverse too, but I won't go into that at this time. In any case, since that time, we've had a nice uptrend. And what Jake says is you buy when you have this setup and this trigger. But if you didn't buy here, here's your more conservative buy point when price falls within the channel and you buy closer to the 8-day moving average of the low. So if you bought here, you had this nice run. You bought here again, you had a nice run. You bought here again, and so on. Interesting chart, I think. So we'll keep taking a look at Jake Bernstein and see what he has to say. This chart has to say. And now we can go back to TC 2000 and take a look at the chart that I use. You know, the chart I set up. Got rid of Jake's chart. And this is a daily chart of the S&P, and you could see that we are now hitting that 2 standard deviation line. So it shouldn't surprise us to see a bit of a pullback. Nothing serious because the weekly chart still looks very strong. So we have the 4 above the 9, 9 above 30. You got the poetry by now. The parabolic is below the most recent bar. So even if we get a slight pullback, it shouldn't be too treacherous. Okay, maybe just a small pullback if we do. The other thing to look at is that so yeah, and the reason for that is because we're hitting 2 standard deviations now. You see, and that's usually a time when we get a pullback. Now on MACD histogram, the 1226.9, we have it trending up from below the zero line, which is bullish. If you read Alex Elder's book, you will know that he says one of the best times to be buying any instrument, stock, ETF, or futures or whatever, is when MACD, this one, 1226.9, is trending up from below the zero line. So that's bullish. Parabolic is still below the most recent bar, as I said before. You could see that Williams percent R is still above that line. And even the MACD histogram we use for sell signals seems to be trending up a little bit now. It trended up a little from here, trended up a little bit. So we got MACD trending up, and we have the moving averages and showing us an uptrend. I think we go higher from here, even if we get a little correction, a little pullback. Okay, so now we got a bigger picture. Let's take a look at the at some individual stocks. I'm going to use Shaken Analytics software, and I did a little research on it, well, a fair amount. What I did was I took all these lists here. Well, one of them in particular. This one is my main shopping list, and any stock on this list that looked fairly oversold, meeting most of the criteria that we use for buy signals on shaken. I put it on this new list, January 4th oversold. In other words, possible buys on Monday. Possible buys, okay? So this is a list that I have here, and we'll take a look at them. Now, Alcoa, I own this. It's at the top of the list. It's very bullish. It's at the top of this list too. You'll see that here. I own these, okay? I own this. I own some of the ARK ETFs. I bought and sold TAN. So I trade these stocks, especially ones at the top of the list. But let's go back to the oversold list here. You can see that Alcoa was oversold and it's ticking up. I bought it when it was oversold and have a little gain. Came off the 21-day moving average, which is usually a good time to buy when it pulls back. Was rallying a lot, pulled back, and now is moving up. This one is a semiconductor stock, MKSI, MKS Instruments. You can see that it was oversold. It's now in neutral territory, but the checklist looks very strong still. We like to see green on the list here, okay? It's only neutral here because it was oversold and it would have been green when it ticked up. And now it's in neutral territory because it's between 30 and 70. So this is one I own, as I told you before. PRS, we'll go through a few of these. PRSC was oversold, has mostly green on the screen, as we say. Very good looking shaken figures here, all green, right? And coming off the 21-day. WCLD, I'll go through many of these here with you. But what I would advise you to do is you could take your cell phone and take a picture of this list, right? Most of these are bullish, some of them are neutral. You see, the ones down here are neutral. So what I would say is take your cell phone and take a picture of the list, and you'll get all the bullish and very bullish stocks that are pretty much oversold or have been recently oversold. Okay, so here we go. This one is the Wisdom Tree Cloud Computing ETF. We don't get a checklist on it. And this is an insurance company, Consumer Finance, Ally Financial. And you see, it wasn't quite oversold, but it's ticking up. And look at the money flow here. The institutions are buying it. And it changed personality here. I don't own it, but I like it. These are ones I own. ARK. No, I sold ARKG when it started coming back here. I owned it, and it met my sell criteria, one of my sell criteria, so I had to sell it. I follow my rules. Okay. Now ARKK I still have. It's bouncing off the 21-day average. I hope it's oversold. Had nice money flow, but because of the news that Cathy Wood might not be in charge of the ARK funds anymore, I think there was some selling off because of that. However, I just read that she signed a deal with one of the investors in the fund, one of the investors who were trying to take over the fund, and they came to a deal where she's going to remain in charge. So if you ask me, I think these ARK ETFs should make a nice move again on Monday. We'll see if George is correct. ARKW, I also own this. And it's now oversold, and I think they sold off because of that news, that she might not be in charge. Here's Chubb, which is an insurance company, rallied up, now coming off the 21-day average, is oversold, and the checklist is all green. It's optimal. Here's one again, Discover Financial. This one is pretty much oversold with a nice uptrend, and it started showing some better earnings here. IPO is oversold and has it's an ETF of IPOs, so we don't get a what do you call it, a checklist on it. If we look at a few others, again you could take a picture of these. Okay, PWR I own. You could see it was oversold and it started trending up, and it's coming off the 21-day average. Let's see what else we have here. Those are some good ones. Now ALGN This is a line technology. This thing has been pretty volatile, but it's now oversold. It's a pretty expensive stock. It's over $500. Okay, let me pause here. I think we're going to be able to go over the 15-minute mark. So I'm going to take a chance on that and do another list. So here's another list, and this is a list that we set up. Doug and I set us up. It really is designed to give us mostly stocks that are bullish or very bullish, and giving us shaken, all green, pretty much green here, and it includes being oversold. So again, if you want to take a picture of this, I'll leave this up here for a minute, and then I'll page down. It's a pretty extensive list, and some of these we've already looked at, but I'm leaving this list up here for a minute. You can take a picture on it, of it, and then I'll page down, and you can take yet another. Okay, so let me page down. Let's see, where was I? Where was I? I was down at RYI. RYI. Yes. So you could take, this is another list. It's many of them. It's like 58, almost 60 of them. So you could take a list of these. Now there's one caveat about these stocks here that I need to point out to you. Now, if you took this picture, let me page down again. And there you go. So one caveat, many of these stocks you will notice are low price stocks, $17, $9, $11, etc. Pay attention. If you're trading a fairly large quantity of shares, they're oftentimes thinly traded, so you don't get very good volume. There isn't much volume or large floats on some of these stocks. So you want to be careful if you're trading large amounts, anything like 500, 1,000 shares or more. You got to be careful with these stocks, okay? Let's go back up to the top of the list and take a look at a few. You'll notice all of these are bullish or very bullish. Here's one, Bungie. It's oversold. You will see most of them will be oversold and optimal, and that's really one. And then look at the money flow, and it's been trending up off the 21-day average. Take a look at this. I don't own most of these stocks, of course, I couldn't. BMO is oversold and trending up. So I think this is a good list to work from, but be careful about the volume. Now, I know we went over the 15 minutes. I'm going to try and see if I think I fixed it so I could do more than 15 minutes. I'll try to upload it and see if we got into any trouble with that. Okay, so it's been a good year. I had a great year. One of my ETFs is up, what is it, 59.4%. One of my IRAs is up 59.4%, and the other one is up 46.4%, 4.5% for the year. And then I have an algorithmic trading system that is up 37%. It's been a pretty good year for me. I hope you had a good year, and I look forward to having an even better year next year. And I wish you that too. Have a good weekend.